andaki uygulamalarınız geçmişteki Nazi uygulamalarından farklı değil.
Ist es noch möglich, zu welcher Instanz dort ist es möglich, Vertrauen zu entwickeln?
Bizimle ilişkilerinizi sürdürmek istiyorsanız, tekrar ediyorum, bize nasıl davranacağınızı öğrenmek zorundasınız.
Der Schaden, der dort derzeit existiert, ist außerordentlich groß.
A war of words between Turkey and Germany. It began when local German authorities cancelled Turkish political rallies. Next month, Turkish citizens vote in a referendum on whether to change the constitution to give the president more powers. The plan would replace the parliamentary system with a presidential republic. The ruling AK party argues the changes are needed for stability and effective decision-making. But opponents say it will put too much power in one person's hands. In Germany, there are 1.4 million Turks eligible to vote in the referendum. Turkish ministers had planned to address some of them at rallies across Germany. But several towns withdrew permission for the events, citing building code violations and security concerns. Ties between Ankara and Berlin have also been strained due to Turkey's arrest of a Turkish-German journalist, Deniz Yücel. Yücel is accused of spreading terrorist propaganda and inciting hatred. Germany is demanding his release. The refugee crisis is another complicating factor. The EU promised Turkey visa-free travel for its citizens if Turkey prevented refugees leaving for Europe. But they never got it. And there's more. In March of last year, the German NDR network broadcast a comedy clip insulting Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. A few months later, the German parliament called the deaths of the Ottoman Armenians in 1915 a genocide. And following the July 15th coup attempt, German authorities prevented President Erdogan from making a teleconference call to his supporters in Germany. The German Justice Minister then denied Turkey's extradition request of suspects linked to the failed coup. German Chancellor Angela Merkel has called for calm, emphasising her country's close relationship with Turkey and saying cooler heads need to prevail. And Turkey's foreign minister met his counterpart in Berlin to ease tensions.
Biz iki dost olarak bu yolumuza devam edeceğiz. Birbirimizden kopmayı mı tercih ediyoruz? Biz iki dost olarak birlikte yola devam etme arzusundayız. Ama Almanya da bu konuda kararını vermeli. Nasıl istiyorsa biz de ona göre adım atarız.
Will these diplomatic efforts be enough to end the spat between these two allies? Or will underlying tensions flare up again? Yvette McCullough, The Newsmakers.
Well, to discuss this, I'm joined in the studio by Özge Özçelik. She's a journalist at the Daily Sabah newspaper. And from Berlin, Eckhard Stratenschulter. He's a professor of political science and director of the European Academy of Berlin. Thanks, both of you, for joining us. Özge, let's start with you. The Foreign Minister, Mevlut Çavuşoğlu, has been speaking. Has he been able to put out the fire that has been raging for about a week?
Well, regarding today's meeting between Çavuşoğlu and his German counterpart in Berlin, we can say, compared to the previous days, the two have softened kind of their strained relations, because the two have been giving some speeches and saying they can sort of come up with the middle way. I mean, they can meet the halfway compared to the recent row.
Yeah. So, Eckhard, nobody's really said sorry, but things are a little bit softer. Are you encouraged by that? Because it did threaten to spiral out of control.
Well, the situation has been very difficult, and I think before the fire was not put out, but a bit put down, there was a lot of oil given into the fire from the Turkish side, and I'm very glad that the German leadership did not respond in the same tone, but was very reluctant to buy this really aggressive and violating approach to the situation. So I hope things are getting better now. Interesting enough, the two foreign ministers met today. They met in a hotel, not in the foreign ministry, and they did not have a press conference together.
Eckhart, the words Nazi tactics, was that, do you feel, a low blow? Was that particularly, I guess, hurtful to the Germans given the history?
Well, this is completely inappropriate. I mean, imagine I come to your home and I say, I want to talk to your kids. And you say, hey, wait a minute, you're not invited. And I say, well, if you don't let me in now, you are, number one, a Nazi, and number two, I'll find my way anyway into your apartment. I mean, this is not an attitude you would like, but this was exactly the attitude we were confronted with. And this makes a rational discussion about the things very difficult.
Okay, so that's when it sort of, opened up and it kind of spiraled a little bit out of control. But at the premise of all of it, would you accept that Turkish politicians probably should be allowed to address dual Turkish-German citizens in Germany, given that there are more than 1 million of them and there's an election coming up?
We have the freedom of speech in Germany, and everybody is allowed to address everybody. So the Turkish president, the prime minister, whoever, is welcome to address people with Turkish background or Germans or I don't know whom. So this is for sure, and this should be guaranteed. No doubt about that. Yes, freedom of speech is important, and there were some difficulties, but I look forward to the presentation given by Cem Özdemir, the Green president, president of the Green Party with Turkish background, giving such a rally on the Taksim Square in Istanbul.
Özge, tell me why the Turkish people were particularly upset that that rally was not allowed to happen.
Well, first and foremost, there is one point to underline, which is even though German authorities did not basically said much violent words, their actions, like their anti-democratic for Turkish people actions by barring Turkish ministers, democratically elected authorities from speaking, and there is this fact. Let's say, although despite the fact that Germany sees itself as a supporter of freedom of speech, barring ministers from speaking freely is against freedom of speech. That is why I think Turkish NGOs in Germany especially are really frustrated at the country.
So, Eckhart, did the authorities make a mistake?
I think what was a mistake was to leave the decision then with local authorities at the very end. And I think this should have been handled on the federal government's level in cooperation with the Turkish government. This was not the case. Germany is open. Germany is open for visitors. Germany is open for speakers. But I mean, let's face it, Germany is not a Turkish marketplace where everybody can come and can sell whatever he wants. And so I think a certain restraint would have been in favor of the cause and would also have led to a less tense atmosphere also among the Turkish community in Germany. The Turkish community is very split about this.
Eckhart, looking at what's at stake, the refugee deal worth 6 billion euros, the fact that you have a NATO alliance, you have a very troubled region, both Europe and the Middle East, and Turkey and Germany are integral partners. Are we seeing in these days and in the weeks to come both nations realizing that while we might disagree on this, we need each other a lot, and so we're going to have to work together? Is that the way you see it?
Yes, of course it is. I mean, Turkey and Germany are important partners for each other. They are important partners in NATO. They know that they are forced to cooperate, and they will do that. So I hope once the referendum is over, that also some Turkish politicians will cool down and get back to diplomatic language and language which is internationally common, instead of these aggressive approaches we have to listen to at the moment.
Özge, what will it take from the German side for the Turkish politicians, but not just the Turkish politicians, but generally for the Turkish people to feel, okay, fine, we're cool now, we can work together? What will it take for them to do?
Well, I think other than the fact that there is a referendum ahead for Turkey, I think Germany by itself is kind of carried away by the right-wing populism across Europe, not just in the country. So as long as Germany kind of distances itself from this stream, while Turkey, comes up with a referendum, the two can come up together, and then they'll say, that's okay, and let's go together, and let's have these diplomatic, cultural, and historic relations to the rightist way again, they can say, I think.
Eckhart, that's the Turkish view. Is Germany getting carried away by right-wing populism, and it's seeing Turkey through that prism?
It's the other way around. I mean, this attitude of the Turkish government is fanning right-wing populism in Germany, and not only in Germany. And also for this, it's the wrong approach to a partner and to a friend. Once again, Turkish speakers are welcome as much as Dutch speakers or British or whatsoever, but there's some rules given by the Constitution, and there are some rules of diplomacy, and I think everybody should respect these rules. Please imagine for a second Angela Merkel going to Turkey without invitation, saying, if you don't let me speak, I'll stir up an uprising, and I come when I want, and then try to give a speech somewhere in Ankara or Istanbul. Imagine that for a second, and then you know what Germany is facing at the moment.
Özge, does that analogy sound reasonable to you?
Well, as far as I know, it's just something more than without an invitation thing, because the permission was given for let's say for two Turkish ministers, Zeybekci and Bozdağ, beforehand. And more surprisingly, after the meetings were banned, 2 days later, for Baykal, CHP's spokesperson or leader, let's say, not leader, but let's say for Baykal, the permission, another permission is given. So I'm seeing the situation as like more of a supporting North campaign rather than the yes one.
Eckhart, I mean, do you think there's any evidence whatsoever that Germany cares about the direction of the campaign, whether it goes yes or no?
For sure, many people are not too happy about the current policy of the Turkish president and about the attempt to concentrate all power in his hands, while at the same time this president shows to be, let me put it diplomatically, a bit erratic. So this is one thing, but the freedom of speech includes the freedom to say things I dislike or other people dislike. And this is an important basic right. But this does not mean that everybody can be everywhere and do everything as a foreign leader and treat another country, a partner country, as it were a province of the country itself.
Okay, Özge Özçelik and Eckhart Stratenschulte, it's been good to have the conversation. Thanks both of you for joining us.
Thank you.